So first off, what we have here is a very basic table, and if you highlight everything in the table, you'll get this little thing in the bottom right corner, which is for your quick analysis. Left click on that. You can also use Control Q to get this. You can alter how the data actually looks. As you can see here, we've got our titles, and then we've got a little bit of data information in there. So we can have title bars, color graphs, icon sets, greater than, top 10%. If we go over charts, you can have charts showing the same information. The totals, you can have the sum in each column. You can have the average, the count, the percentage totals, running totals, sum in each row, and many other things. And obviously you can convert these to tables as well. The main advantage of this is quite simply it saves you having to go looking for it in the top menus or anything. It's all in this bottom right hand corner. It makes even the basic data look a bit more interesting, a bit more colourful. But also, like here with the greater than, it's very easy to clarify the information depending on what you're actually needing. Next tip of the day is actually using the filter. The filter can be found on the Data tab, then click Filter. And I just want to show you here, because we don't have titles, because we should have description here, price, quantity, just as an example, it will take the top row as being the descriptions. As such, it's excluded the information in these and only taking it from here and here. So what we want to do before we stick the filter on is quite simply just put our titles in. So we're just going to give it some random titles. We'll call this one description, price, and quantity, just as some examples, just so you can see what difference it makes. So we go to alpha now, click on filter, and you can see it's put it in the top row. And if we click on description, you can see we have the different ones recognized here. We can click on alpha and it will only show alpha, but you can have different filters for different things. So for example, say we had multiple the same here, which would highlight an error, say they had to be unique. So we selected 5, we know one of these should actually be 6. So we could change that, and then next time we just click it back on, back it off, we go back to 5, and we're back to just having 1. Very, very useful for many things, and I do recommend getting used to using filters on Microsoft Office. Next thing is we're going to look at drop-down menus. This will allow predetermined things to go in here. In this case, it's numbers 1 to 4, so you can't have 5 and 6 because for whatever reason there's only 1 to 4. Obviously, we're just making a selection. This could be A, B, C, D. It could be apples, cherries, whatever. The main thing is we're going to lock this so nobody can actually put anything that isn't in this drop-down. So what we do is, first thing is, we recognize that we want it in this row. We can also go in columns, but we want this row. We don't need to put the title in because the title is not part of the drop down. So we highlight the area that we're interested the data to be manipulated in. We go to the Data tab. We click on Data Validation. Here it goes settings, any value. We need to change that to list. It's going to ask us where to get that list information from. So what we do is we click the pretty little picture in the corner. It's now asking us where, so we highlight from 1 to 4. Now you can highlight it on this page, or you can open another workbook, which is the way I normally do it, and I would store it as my working out on a data sheet as a separate one. And you can do exactly the same, you just highlight it on the other sheet and it'll pull the data through for you. So we've now highlighted that. We click OK, which is this little bit in the corner. Are we happy with that? The answer is yes. And if we go over here now, you can see there's a drop down. Now if we try to put, let's just try and put 9 in here. it won't let us do it anymore. This is why you use this. It locks people down from spelling mistakes, their own interpretations, you name it. It's a very practical and useful tip. Next tip is resizing the columns to make them actually more easy on the eye, but also it stops you missing any data. As you can see here, column H is all bunched up, I is spread out, J is well spread out. Now if you go up on the top here, you'll see this bold sort of cross. Double click on it, and then if you go to I and do the same, double click and double click on the J, it tidies everything up so it's nice and clean. It goes to the largest one to set its boundaries on the ends of those. So it's quite useful for large amounts of data as well when you've got a spreadsheet that's all bunched up, maybe you've imported it or whatever. But if you go to the top and then highlight all the columns and then double click on one of these ones that is bunched up or too far apart, it will adjust all of them in one click. Now say you want to reverse the data for the columns and rows. What you want to do is highlight the data, then right click, and we want to copy, and then what we do here is paste, but we want to paste special. So paste special, and just click on that, then click on transpose, and you can see it reverses the data. Our next tip looks at duplicate information. As you can see here, we have 3 Mike Fosses, one here, one here, and one here. The difference is this one may be a different one because his telephone number is different. So what we want to look at is how do we interpret this data. So we highlight all of it and we go over to the data tab again, remove duplicates, and we're going to do a search on first, last and telephone. So it's going to confirm these, and basically it's looking for a duplicate that matches all 3. So in this case we press OK. You can see we have lost one of our Mike Fosses. Now we go back on that, Control Z, and we do it again. So we have data validation, and not data validation, remove duplicates, and in this case we're going to remove the telephone number now. And if I take this out, you will see we'll actually lose 2 Mike Fosses now. There you go, so 2 have gone. Now the reason it's important that you're very wary of this is when you have, like in this case, there may be a different Mike Foss. You need to make sure that you're only removing the ones that are relevant. So if it's 100% a duplicate, remove it. If it's not, don't. Quite simply, this is a permanent delete. It's not a case of searching through information. If you're going to do that, please use the filter instead, which actually has more functionality, and it doesn't delete anything. It just allows you to basically select, like let's just do Mike. It just gives you the mics and just filters it. Nothing's being deleted, and that's why the 2 differences between the 2. The remove duplicates is often used for cleansing data. Next one is goal value. As you can see here, we have a little stock ordering. Got a £1,000 budget. We've already had the quantities come in for these 3 types, how many we want, how much they're going to cost, and at the moment we need some legits, but we don't know how many we can afford. So what we do here is we go over to data and we click on what if analysis and then goal seek, and what we want to do is we're going to set the cell, which is this cell here, which is the total, which will bring us up to 1,000, and this £1,000 is the figure we're looking for, and the quantity we need it to go and find for us. So we click there, click on there, just press enter, and it's got all the figures there. So it's going to set this figure to reach 1,000, and it's going to do a calculation between that to bring it up to 1,000. So it recognizes the formula across here that this will head to 1,000, and we just press OK. As you can see, 3.94, so it'll be a little bit over budget to buy 4 of those, but it does the formula for us. VLookUp is very useful for going through large amounts of data to find specific things. In this example, we have building names and they have postcodes. We want the postcodes, and what we do here is you highlight the first gap we got, because obviously we're going to look for Spanish here, and then it will give us the postcodes automatically. So we click up here on FX, which is insert function, put the description here for VLookUp, so just type in VLookUp on here and click all if it's not shown in the bottom like it is on mine. Just press go and it will find it for you. In my case it's already here, so we'll just press OK. Its lookup value is this one, it's not this side, it's looking for, this is my description of it, so that's where I want the data from. The table array is actually this table here, so we stretch over the top of there, so it includes the building, includes the postcodes. Whoops, it's just put it in the wrong one. Let's move that down and we'll go back here. Yeah, okay. Next one is the column index number. What you have here is, this is column 1 and this is column 2, and we actually want the information out of column 2, so we just put the number 2 in there because that's column 2, it's the postcode. So what it's going to do is look for that name in here, then it will give us the data out of column 2, which is the postcode. Now the range to look up, what this is if it's true, it's the nearest match. If it's false, it's a exact match. So we actually want to use false nearly always, and we just click OK, and as you can see it's giving us the Spanish postcode. And now if I pull this down, it should find some of it. So here we see Dutch is found FD32SF, but if I double click on this, you can see it's actually moved down a line as I drag this down, which is sometimes one of the things you will get with Excel. It adjusts for each row of data. Not a biggie, but like here you can see Chester was in the top 2, it now couldn't find it. Now I pulled that back over there, press OK, it's now found it. Nothing, obviously nothing's in the list. Nothing's not in the list, nothing doesn't exist. So with that, even though it's covered the full array, we're going to find that it shows that nothing's there. So in this case, did a search like this and it shows up nothing. Basically it's not listed as a building, and you may have some corrupt data, or for some other reason it could be misspelled or whatever, but it flags that up with an NA. So now we'll talk about some autofills. In this case we've got some emails and we want to separate first name, last name. They're all in the right order, first name and last name. So in column B, put Fred Perry and press enter, and it should pick up the other ones for me. Just click on that and it's auto done it. This is what's called a flash fill. Now we could actually be wanting to number these for whatever reason. So for example, if they're 1, maybe they're in year 1, drag that down on the corner, it will recognize them as all as being year 1. But say we want to do numbering instead, we don't want everything to be 1, we want 1, 2, 3, 4. If we drag the 2, so it recognizes them as a pair, pull that down, 3 and 4. So you got that, you highlight the 2 and then drag the bottom corner, it will recognize them as a continuation. Now the same thing can be done with dates. So let's go to 1st of 1st 2018. 2018, so there may be a reason that these may be different people coming on different days. Drag the bottom corner, it does a separate day for each one. Also does it for months, so I do January, February, highlight the 2, drag it down, March and April. The main thing is it has to be a pattern it can recognize, but it saves a ridiculous amount of time once you master it.